Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
How does it make you feel as someone who's spent a lifetime in the bar and the bench? Do you feel worried about it? Does it trouble you in the years that you were a judge? Did you look at the newspaper next morning worried that is my name going to make it to the front page or what? How is the fact of an institution suddenly finding itself under intense scrutiny, which was otherwise seen as behind the four walls and the gates of the Supreme Court, the forbidding gates, now suddenly being subject to this scrutiny? Does it trouble you?
No, it doesn't trouble me at all. I think every institution should be, every institution should be under a microscope. Why not? I mean, it doesn't trouble me at all, no.
You admit that every institution should be under a microscope. Why is it that this is said only when you retire? Why is it that sitting judges, when they are in the judiciary, appear to believe that they are not necessarily accountable to the bench?
The reason why I say this when I retire,
to the bar.
The reason why I say this when I have retired is, you didn't ask me this question.
Are you telling me that?
Yeah, if you had asked me when I was a judge, I would have said the same thing.
Let me turn to, since you seem to be more than willing, I take this as an opportunity to suggest that you want judges to be held accountable. Let's start with what exactly is the issue that has troubled many people. Let's cut the chase. December 12th, collegium of the Supreme Court, comprising the Chief Justice, Ranjan Gogoi, yourself, three other judges, recommends the elevation of Justice Pradeep Nandrajog, Chief Justice of the Rajasthan High Court, Justice Rajendra Menon, Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court of the Supreme Court. January 10th, new collegium minus you, plus Justice Arun Mishra, now part of it, holds its first meeting, instead decides to elevate two other judges, Justice Dinesh Maheshwari and Justice Sanjeev Khanna. The details of your 12th December meeting are not even put up, the resolution is not even put up, uploaded on the website of the Supreme Court. How do you see it? Is it almost that we want to get rid of Madan Lokur and then we'll appoint new judges? That's the impression that many people are getting.
Well, I don't have that impression. Sorry, I don't have that impression at all. Well, there was a meeting on the 12th of December, undoubtedly, and certain decisions were taken, and that is reflected in the resolution of 10th of January. Now, what happened between 12th of December and 10th of January, I am not privy to it at all. So really, I can't say what happened.
But does it leave you disappointed as a senior judge that decisions taken by the collegium, presumably through a process of consultation, are not as per practice put up on the website? Instead, they are reversed. With only a cryptic line, additional material has come to light. Were you informed of any of this additional material? Were you kept out of the loop?
I was not informed of any additional material, no.
So you were kept completely out of the loop. Is it true that you asked the Chief Justice to upload that resolution on the 13th of December?
No, there's no reason to ask anybody to upload the resolution taken by the collegium. I mean, it's something that is done. You see, the thing is, there's no practice that is laid down. No standard operating procedure or something that is laid down. So once a resolution is passed, I would expect in the normal course that it would be put up on the website.
So does it leave you disappointed? Does it leave you disappointed as a senior jurist to find a decision that you've taken being almost overruled, if I may use the word, in the manner that it was, in complete opaqueness, with no transparency whatsoever?
It does disappoint me that it was not put up on the website, yes.
It does disappoint you?
Yeah, it does.
Does it also suggest that you fear that there could have been motives?
No.
Are you going to attribute motives?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Have you tried to seek an explanation from the Chief Justice of the country?
That's not my job. No. That's not my job. A decision has been taken, and in the normal course, it should have been put up. It was not put up. I'm disappointed. Why it was not put up is not my business.
It's not your business, but it's certainly, presumably, since you yourself say that judicial officers should be held to levels of accountability, it certainly concerns members of the bar, it concerns colleagues in the bench. Other judges have now written to the Chief Justice. The manner in which it was done, is that at the heart of the problem, that the institution remains trapped in opaqueness? What happens at that collegium meeting when 5 judges sit, the 5 wise men and women sit, is not known to the wider world when it should. It affects the careers of many people. It seems a totally subjective process. Do you agree with me?
Well, what happens at the collegium is something which is done in confidence. And if I have a discussion with you, assuming you're a member of the collegium, it's obviously something which is in confidence. And I'm not going to betray anybody's trust and say that, well, this is what we discussed or this is not what we discussed. It's a matter of trust, it's a matter of confidence. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to betray anybody's trust on this. So we take certain decisions. And once we take certain decisions, they have to be uploaded.
Which is exactly it. You took a decision, it is not uploaded. 2 new judges are brought in. I'm sorry to persist. I mean, I get a sense that you feel let down. Justice Lokur, you are now the outsider. You can say, you can speak with a little bit more freedom than you did before the 31st of December.
I am telling you that I am disappointed. Yes, I am. I am disappointed that it was not uploaded. Yes.
Are you disappointed, therefore, that there is a lack of transparency as well in the way this entire process of appointment of judges is made in this country, which will, in the future also perhaps, spark off similar controversies?
You see, let me just go back to this judgment of the NJAC.
Yes.
Now, among the things that was mentioned in the NJAC judgment is that there should be certain, eligibility criteria, for example, right? How do you deal with complaints? That's one of the things that we have mentioned in the judgment. Suggestions were invited from the public, from the lawyers, from everybody. And if I remember correctly, something like 11,000 pages of suggestions were given, which were then analyzed to some extent by the then by the Additional Solicitor General and by a Senior Advocate.
Yes.
Now, it was obviously a humongous task for us as judges to analyze all those 11,000 pages. And we were told by the Attorney General that the appropriate course, which we accepted, that the appropriate course would be for the Government of India in the Department of Justice or the Law Ministry or whatever, to come out with a memorandum of procedure. And they did come out with a memorandum of procedure. Now that memorandum of procedure is silent in a sense on the the details of the eligibility criteria. It does say, for example, that for the appointment of a judge to the High Court, the person should be 45 years of age. It does say that the person who will be recommended by the collegium of the High Court for appointment as a judge should have an annual income of 7 lakhs, right? But there are other things as well, what is the standing of that person, who is to be consulted, how is that person to be selected, and all that. The memorandum of procedure itself is silent on that. So really, when you talk about transparency in appointments, the memorandum of procedure itself is silent.
Which is precisely the point. Therefore, even after the NJAC judgment, you are virtually back to a square one process where, the notion of consultation, the notion of criteria is left sufficiently ambiguous. Today, Justice Nandrajog was here or Justice Menon was here. They could well turn around and ask, what is it that where did I fail? What is this additional material that has been provided? Should the Chief Justice of India not put that material out in the public domain if it is so serious to actually effectively bypass those 2 judges or overrule their appointment? Surely such material is in the public interest and must be put out. How long will the judges, almost sort of hide behind the MOP or hide behind the NJAC judgment?
No, it's not a question of hiding behind the judgment. Well, if there is some material, it's, I suppose somebody has to be trusted on dealing with the material, isn't it?
But should it be put out in the public domain in your view?
I don't know. I'm not sure. You see, it depends on what kind of a material it is. Supposing it is something which is defamatory.
Yes.
Should the whole world know that, it's defamatory? It could be something which is not defamatory but may not be good enough to make that person a judge of the High Court. How does it matter?
What surprises me, the material is good enough for them to continue as Chief Justices of their respective High Courts, but is not good enough for them to be judges of the Supreme Court. What is so privileged that prevents a person who is the Chief Justice of 2 High Courts of the required seniority, but you cannot be in the Supreme Court, sir?
Okay, so then, according to you, every Chief Justice should become a judge of the Supreme Court? Why not?
I said, sir, my limited point is once you've taken a decision in these 2 instances, then surely the material should be compelling enough and strong enough for that decision to be overruled. And if that material is compelling and strong enough, then either they are not fit enough to also be Chief Justice of the High Court.
No, not.
Are you saying there's a completely different level of...
Not necessary. A person may be a good Chief Justice but may not be a good Supreme Court judge. How do you say that every Chief Justice is good enough to be a Supreme Court judge?
But presumably, sir, on the 12th of December, the 5 wise minds who sat in that room thought they were good enough.
Yes, we did.
And suddenly on the 10th of January, they're not good enough.
But I was not there on 10th of January. So I don't know what was the additional material that the judges had.
Which is why the suspicion is that the Chief Justice was simply waiting for you to retire.
Yeah, okay, that's for you to decide. Not for me. I don't know what the material was, so what can I say? I can't say anything about that.
Which is why we come back to the manner of transfer and appointments. Even at tea today, we had a couple of senior lawyers come to me and tell me about specific cases of specific lawyers whom the government wants to transfer out and others who they want to retain. The entire NJSC judgment therefore comes under scrutiny. You are among those who ruled in favor of the continuance of the system. There will be others today who will say, why not get honest and say the collegium system as it exists has failed? We need to find a better way to appoint and transfer judges. Do you at least accept that maybe the time has come to look at the way judges are transferred and appointed?
Well, I wouldn't say the collegium system has failed. I think that's a very, very strong word. I don't think it has failed. But yes, like every system, it requires tweaking. All right. Now, in the case of this Justice Karnan, for example, Justice Chalmeshwar and Justice Gogoi said that we need to revisit the method of appointment and selection of judges.
Yes.
There are things that happen, it's not that, the procedure is cast in stone and that's it. I mean, situations arise, we are dealing with human beings, we are not dealing with, machines. So things happen and, certainly it needs tweaking. Yeah, it does.
Tell us how. I mean, I will persist with this.
Yeah.
What happens inside a collegium? For all of us who are not privileged to be part of your collegium, tell us what actually happens inside. Is there intense debate or is it simply that sifarish pe chalta hai?
No. There is no sifarish in this. Well, there is a discussion.
There is no element of nepotism?
I don't think so.
No element of influence spending in the years that you were in the collegium?
No. Not while I was...
No attempts made by whoever is the chief at the time to ensure that people who he or she may be close to get the benefit?
Well,
if all things being equal,
it's like this. I think you have to understand a few things. If there is a suggestion that is given by the Chief Justice that I would like, or I think that somebody should be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court, or that somebody should be transferred out, well, we discuss it. Why should that person be appointed? Why should that person be transferred out? Should that person be transferred out? Should that person be appointed? So there is a discussion. Yeah, there is a discussion. It's not that because the Chief Justice says that, listen, this is to be done, therefore everybody agrees. It doesn't work like that. There is a discussion. There is a healthy discussion. There are agreements. There are disagreements. If the Chief Justice says, I think certain particular person should be appointed, well, I may disagree and he may accept my point of view. If he doesn't, well, I'm entitled to say as a member of the collegium that, listen, I don't agree with you.
But how would you, if you had an opportunity now to revisit the collegium system and think of a better way in which public confidence, the confidence of the bench and the bar was restored in the manner in which transfers and appointments are being made, what according to you would be a better system than the one that exists today? Today it seems the primacy of the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice seems to have a certain element of primacy.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. The Chief Justice is the first amongst equals, right? There's no difficulty about that. So the discussion is initiated by the Chief Justice, right? And as one of the equals, I am entitled to disagree with the Chief Justice like anybody else. It's not that because the Chief Justice says so, therefore I must agree with him. It doesn't work like that.
I come back to the latest instance. Additional material according to the resolution drafted on January 10th has been responsible for 2 judges being passed over and 2 other judges being appointed. You were part of the collegium. Either that additional material possibly was available before December 31st. If it was, surely you should have been informed of it.
Right.
You are telling me you were never informed of any additional material.
Right.
Therefore, the additional material very conveniently, it would seem, came between the 1st and the 10th. If that material has come, should we be satisfied with just what has been said in that resolution, or should I or any member of the bar or bench not have the right to ask, please put that material in the public domain? And if it is serious enough, please tell us how serious it is. I mean, I'm just saying there seems to be a complete lack of transparency in the process. So where is the accountability when there is no transparency, sir?
Yeah, you see, again, we are coming back to the same thing, you know. What is the kind of material that was there before the collegium on the 10th of January? You don't know, right? I assume you don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Now, supposing it was something which is incorrect,
Yes,
and defamatory, right? The collegium believes it to be correct.
yes.
Okay, and it's defamatory. Do you expect them to put it out and say that, listen, this is defamatory material?
But it leaves the space for a lot of gossip, for a lot of innuendo, which is the last thing people at the highest, in the country's highest judiciary need. I mean, let's be honest, that's really what is triggering off a lot of the there's a lot of speculation over the manner in which judges at the moment are being appointed and transferred. I was just given an example just now, an advocate who was to be brought to the Allahabad High Court as a judge. 3 times you've sent his recommendations to the government. The government apparently has returned it 3 times. Again, we don't know why. In the case of Justice Joseph, where you had a conflict with you were part of the collegium, you're conflicted with the government returned it back twice. Eventually, he was elevated. But the manner in which it happened, don't you think it undermines public faith in the institution?
Yeah, this is precisely what I'm saying, that there is a need to bring about a change, right? And this, what you have mentioned, is one of the examples for bringing about a change. Now, the memorandum of procedure, for example, is silent on many of these things. Okay? Let me give you an example. It says that if the High Court Collegium makes a recommendation and says that we think that so and so should be appointed as a judge, and the state government does not respond, all right, or does not act upon that recommendation within a period of 6 weeks, then the government of India, the Law Ministry or the Department of Justice, whoever is concerned, can proceed on the assumption that they have no objection. Okay? Now, supposing the Government of India or the Law Ministry or the Department of Justice does not proceed on that assumption, what happens? And this has happened in several cases, where the files have remained pending with the government for months together. So what is the sanction, so to speak, for inactivity? Supposing the government sits on the file for months together. It sat on the file of Justice K.M. Joseph for months together.
That's right.
What do? The memorandum of procedure is silent on that. Now, what do you expect anybody to do? Perhaps just maybe the Chief Justice to ring up to find out what's happened. Apart from that, what else? They will say, yeah, the file is with us, we'll process it.
Has that been your experience, that when convenient the government will sit on a file? let's be again honest now. You're outside the system. Particularly what we've seen in the last year or two. The government sits on files when it suits them.
Well, I don't know whether it suits them or not, but everybody knows that, the government has been sitting on some files. It's a matter of public knowledge. It's not something to do with my being a member of the collegium or not. Everybody knows it. Files have remained pending for a couple of months. Everybody knows it.
So what should be the role of the government then?
Yeah, so therefore, there has to be some mechanism, if you want to improve the system, and I think the system needs to be improved. There has to be some mechanism by which the timelines which are laid down must be strictly adhered to, or else, it should be taken as a consent. Right? That's one way of looking at it. Or maybe there should be some discussions or something between whoever is there in the government and members of the collegium or the Chief Justice or somebody.
Because the other view would be that the government doesn't want inconvenient judges but would prefer pliable judges. Because that's again, it's about how the public perceives it. It's about perception.
Yeah, certainly could be. Yeah.
You accept that?
It could be.
That's the perception outside.
It's not a question of my accepting perception or not. I mean, if people have a perception, they have a perception. But it could be that, the government might sit on a file because it doesn't want a particular person. It's possible.
Is that what happened with Justice Joseph?
I don't know whether the government wanted him or didn't want him. Ultimately, he was appointed. It was only a question of time.
You have to literally push them.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that.
The reason again I come back, and this is where, therefore the people, there will be those who will say maybe the NGAC majority judgment was flawed. You and others seem to refer almost to suggest as if appointment of judges is part of the basic structure of the Constitution. Yeah. There are others who would suggest that is hardly the basic structure of the Constitution. We need a wider process of consultation before appointing judges.
Yeah, sorry.
And maybe that could include the executive.
Sorry. I have said that a view has been taken in the NJSC judgment. I think that the view is correct, that there must be an independent judiciary, right? I also think that the collegium system is, in the existing circumstances, the best system, but I also say that the existing collegium system needs some tweaking. What is that tweaking is something that all of us need to discuss, We can't just say that, listen, because there has been a problem on one occasion, therefore you throw the collegium system out. All right? There have been problems in the pre-collegium system as well. Right? So you throw that out. You bring in the collegium system, you throw that out. You bring in a third system. Something happens, you throw that out. How long is this going to go on?
You're saying define the memorandum of procedure more clearly, specify the criteria, have a time limit. The law minister of the country cannot simply sit on a file, and if he sits on a file beyond the prescribed period of time, nobody can sit on a file, it will be taken as consent.
That's one way of looking at it. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, certainly. Nobody can sit on a file, and that includes, not only the government, it also includes the judiciary.
What was the intent and what did you achieve?
Well, what did we achieve? I don't know, I can't specify what exactly we achieved, but I'm sure we achieved something. Must have achieved something. Some little bit of openness, in the system. Yeah.
You just put the Chief Justice on notice. I mean, let's be honest, administration of justice, the manner in which cases are assigned, there is a sense that this has been, there have been previous Chief Justices who also faced similar criticism. What is it that in this particular instance led you to take what many believe, the Fali Narimans and the Soli Sorabji said, if you had to sort it within the confines of the court, 4 judges should not have gone out to the public. What would you like to tell the Soli Sorabjis and the Fali Narimans of the world?
Well, I don't want to tell them anything.
Why not?
No, why should I? But we did have a discussion with the Chief Justice about some issues, and when we did not get a positive response time and again, not once, not twice, but more than 2 or 3 times, we thought that it would be appropriate to let people know that we have a different perception from what the Chief Justice has.
You're telling us something important. What you're saying is that this was not a one-off, this was something that was building up over a period of time. You did make the attempt of reaching out to the Chief Justice, Justice Mishra then. He didn't, in a sense, accept perhaps your grievances, so you thought there was no choice but to go to the court of the public.
Not to the court of the public, but if you remember, we circulated a letter which had been sent to the Chief Justice.
Yes.
Right? That contains everything. Okay? So when we when we wrote that letter, when we voiced our views, and that letter, if I remember correctly, was sometime in October. It was in October, and when we came out in January, so there was time a little bit before October, then October, November, December, and January.
How have things changed? Because you were...
It has brought about some openness, yes.
It has brought about openness?
Yeah, I think so, yes, certainly, yeah, it has. It has.
You know, the argument that critics of your action make is that if you really had to go and take this extreme step, according to some of going and addressing a press conference, then go on the real issues, go on judicial corruption, expose the corruption of the judges. You know, to go on administration of judges, administration of justice is the low-hanging fruit.
All right, give me the names of those judges who are corrupt. Give me the names. You're talking about corruption of judges. Give me the names.
I'll give you the names in this gathering. You will, your fellow judges will throw the contempt of court, which again comes back to it, of judicial accountability. Let's be honest.
One minute.
I'll give you an example, sir. A few years ago, we came very close to stinging a judge of the Supreme Court.
Truth is a good defense. So if you have the name of any judge who is corrupt, tell us.
You see, I will leave that to Prashant Bhushan at some stage. Because I am satisfied with the idea.
Your court has sent a recommendation for his impeachment.
Sorry?
Justice Shukla of the Allahabad High Court. Your court has recommended his impeachment. What happened to that?
I have no idea. I have no idea about that.
The then Chief Justice, sir.
I think if I remember correctly, this is what my impression is, that there is an in-house inquiry.
Yes.
Right? Now, that in-house inquiry has to be dealt with by the Chief Justice. Okay, so I'm not aware of what was the result of that in-house inquiry, and if the in-house inquiry is concluded, I believe it is concluded. I have no idea what the Chief Justice has done about it. I have no idea.
Do you believe that that system also needs to be looked at? That we need perhaps a swifter, more transparent system that doesn't prevent judges from doing their work honestly, but also punishes the dishonest. I mean, let's be honest, hundreds of judges across this country, there must be several of them, sir, who aren't of the highest integrity. And yet, they perhaps get away. Do you believe the system needs to be reviewed for looking at cases of judicial corruption rather than leaving it for gossips in the corridor of the courts?
Yeah. If there is evidence of corruption or strong, not necessarily evidence in that sense, but enough to show that a person is not honest, there should be a system, and we need a faster system, certainly.
So let me be more direct. Do judges protect their own?
No, I don't think so.
So the former Chief Justice of India was indicted for land fraud.
No, let's look at the specifics. Do you believe that judges protect their own? And therefore even that system needs to be reviewed in some form?
I don't know what you mean by protect their own. I mean, if a person is guilty, he's guilty. Where is the question of protecting somebody who's guilty? Right? If the person is innocent, he's innocent. He doesn't need any protection because he's innocent. Now, what you are saying, I suppose, I don't know what you're trying to say. What you are saying is that if in a grey area, perhaps the judges are trying to protect somebody.
No, what I'm saying is that there are numerous, Prashant Bhushan raises one particular instance, but over the years, there have been several such instances. In some cases, you're right, the evidence may not be of 100%, but is surely worth pursuing and investigating. Do you believe this process of investigating a judge who may be accused of corruption is pursued with the due seriousness, or is there an attempt at the end of the day to play it down, to not take it as seriously as it should?
Okay, let me tell you about my own personal experience.
Yes.
There was an allegation against a particular judge of corruption, right? I happen to be a member of that in-house committee to look into the allegation of corruption, and we did find that the judge was corrupt, or but corrupt in the sense of dishonest. So we did make a recommendation to the Chief Justice. So it's not that these things don't happen. Now what the Chief Justice did after that, I don't know, because that was entirely for the Chief Justice to decide. But if there is some material that a person is corrupt or believed to be corrupt or believed to be dishonest or believed to lack integrity, there is a procedure, and I can't tell you offhand how long it took us for that inquiry, but I think the inquiry was conducted fairly fast.
The proximity of judges to the government, sir.
Yeah.
There was a belief that judges kept away from government and government officers and their functions to the maximum extent possible. Now there's a sense that some of those walls are being bridged. The Prime Minister attended, I think not too long ago, a dinner that the judges told, you invite him by convention, but the Prime Minister doesn't attend. Not only did he attend, but apparently he asked you to open the doors of court number 1 and wanted to see how the court proceedings take place. Do you believe that the distance must be complete and total between government and the judiciary?
I don't know what you mean by, distance should be complete. I mean, are you suggesting that I should not see the face of the Prime Minister?
No, there are photographs of some judges who attend, let's say, the wedding of a politician's son or daughter, and then the photographs come out. Should the judge be a hermit completely? Once you become a judge of the Supreme Court, in particular.
I don't think a judge should be a hermit. I don't think this ivory tower business is correct, that a judge should be in an ivory tower. If judges are going to be in an ivory tower, you don't know what the hell is going on at the ground level. So you can't expect a judge to be a hermit. And why should a judge be a hermit? On the one hand, you talk about, judges being human beings. And on the other hand, you say he should be a hermit, or he should be sitting in an ivory tower, or he should not know what's happening. I mean, it can't be like that,
The doors of the Supreme Court opening specifically for the Prime Minister?
That's perfectly okay. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. I think you're reading far too much into it. You must know that this was in a conference in which Chief Justices of some other countries had come. There was a dinner. I don't think there's anything wrong in inviting the Prime Minister for a public dinner. I don't think there's anything wrong. The Prime Minister of India gives a farewell to the Chief Justice of India, the outgoing Chief Justice, and a welcome to the incoming Chief Justice. The President does it. Now, are you trying to say that we should not have, this sort of a thing? I mean, that's stretching it too far. I'm sorry, but that's stretching it too far.
Post-retirement assignments.
Yeah.
That are, that seem to be the practice. Do you believe that judges must accept appointments almost immediately? We've even had judges becoming governors, Chief Justices now becoming governors. Do you believe that line needs to be drawn somewhere?
Yeah, it does.
As to what it does need to be drawn?
Certainly.
What should be the line?
Well, it depends on a variety of factors. For example, you have the National Human Rights Commission. All right. The law says, a law enacted by Parliament, says that the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission will be a retired Chief Justice of India. Mm-hmm. Now, supposing all the Chief Justices say that, listen, we are not going to become chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, do you think that body can function? The law says that the chairman of the Central Administrative Tribunal will be a retired Chief Justice of a High Court. Supposing all the Chief Justices of all the High Courts say we're not going to become, presidents or chairman or whatever it is of the Central Administrative Tribunal. Do you think it's going to work? So you have laws, right? And if the law requires that a person, that a retired judge or a retired Chief Justice should be a member of a particular body, change the law. You can't say that, oh, because you become a member, therefore there's something wrong with that.
No, but governors, members of parliament, the kind of posts that are, would you accept if the government gave you a governorship?
I would not. I would not.
If they made you a Rajya Sabha nominated member?
I would not.
The reason I'm asking you this is
Is there a
also...
rumor that I'm going to become a member?
No. The reason I'm asking you this is because look at the number of cases with a distinct political flavor that the judges have to, in a sense, deal with. Look at the Mandir Masjid dispute which is coming up, sir. Look at other sensitive cases that have come up in the past. Dare I say some contentious. I know there will be people who still ask a question as to the stand that you took on the Birla Sahara diaries that the judiciary took at the time. Or the Kalikopur case, the Arunachal Chief Minister's widow who came before the Supreme Court. I'm just asking, given the nature of these cases, that by their very nature, look at the CBI Director's appointment case, sir. Chief Justice Gopal has suddenly recused himself. Now that leads to questions being asked as to why he chose to do what he did.
Why?
Because the same Chief Justice, sir, chose to adjudicate on Alok Verma's case. But when it comes to Nageshwar Rao, suddenly says, I want to recuse myself because I am responsible I'm part of the committee which will appoint the next CBI director. That argument could well have been used when Alok Verma's case came before him.
All right, supposing it wasn't. What are you suggesting? That he should have heard the case and taken up a meeting tomorrow?
No, I'm saying he could have recused himself from the original Alok Verma hearing.
He did not. All right, now therefore what? Therefore what?
So my point is...
Therefore he should hear the case and also be in the selection committee.
But it's very interesting, sir. The selection committee was as a result of a judgment passed by the late Justice Verma. And we've seen with successive CBI directors, all of whom have been appointed by a collegium of which the Chief Justice is a part. Each of them, at least 3 of the last 4 have been in some way or the other accused of serious corruption. What does it say about the system when the leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice of this country cannot appoint men of integrity to the highest post, or against whom then subsequent allegations come out? I'm just wondering whether the Chief Justices of this country or senior judges want to spread their in a sense, their writ well beyond the judicial domain into what is essentially a political domain, and thereby find themselves getting into one controversy after the other. What does the Chief Justice now do in a situation like the CBI Director?
I don't know what he will do, and I can't advise him.
No, I'm looking at judicial overreach, sir. Do you believe that in certain areas judges should simply stay out? Whether it's the Rafale case, possibly?
No. Well, listen, I'm not talking about any specific case. Please don't, get into that.
Yeah, but in generality.
Yeah, in generally, I think the judges, the judiciary has to stay out of the political thicket, and that's very well accepted. It's not only something from India, but it's all over the world. Stay away from the political thicket. Listen, I'm not talking about any particular case. I don't want to go into any particular case. There are cases pending. I don't want to go.
You are even administering cricket and making a mess of it. The chief, the committee of administrators has messed up Indian cricket. I'm just wondering whether the Supreme Court needs to take a step back, sir. Is this the time for the Supreme Court to take a step back and say, let's focus on the core issues where justice is involved, rather than get involved in sundry other activities where really you don't need a judicial
You see, I'm repeating what I have said, that I do not want to discuss any particular case, whether it's a BCCI or whatever. I don't want to discuss any particular case, but yes, there are occasions when judges have gone beyond what is required, right? So on those occasions, they certainly do need to step back, certainly. I think it's with every branch of democracy. The executive sometimes oversteps. Okay, so the judiciary strikes down the actions of the judiciary. Parliament sometimes oversteps, or the legislature sometimes oversteps. The courts say that it is unconstitutional. Now, to say that it's overreach in that sense, if you're using the word overreach as a very strong term, I don't think that's right. The legislature can make a mistake. It can misunderstand, its powers. The executive can misunderstand its powers. The judiciary can misunderstand its powers. But to say that, well, because you misunderstood your powers, therefore it's overreach, I don't think that's a fair criticism.
Have you retired on December 31st with a sense of feeling content
yes.
about the state of the judiciary? You passed remarkable judgments in the context of the environment, the Juvenile Justice Act. You made a genuine effort to sort of reach out to those who need justice more. But do you believe the system, the institution, is functioning as well as it should? Or are you depressed when you read the newspaper headlines and the editorial opinion about the state of the judiciary?
No, I'm not depressed. But like I said in the beginning, I said that certain things need tweaking, right? And we need to discuss those things. It's not only the collegium, but in justice delivery, the entire system of justice delivery needs tweaking. You know, I mean, like, what about appointments? Should we have 20,000 judges, or should we have 50,000 judges, or should we have 1 lakh judges? I think we need to discuss these things. And unfortunately, we are not discussing many of these things.